Great. So welcome everybody to the session tonight. I'm going to have a lot of chances to talk to you. We're not as big a group on a Wednesday. The Wednesday group is usually a little bit smaller. So that is helpful for us. I want to start by sharing my screen because we're going to do a lot of breakout room stuff and I want to have time for that. That's important for me. Okay, so tonight, to start us off, I'll move the participants out of the way. I wanted to talk about this halo effect. I wrote the word halo, and you know, halo is like an angel has, and I put a smiley with a halo. So a halo effect is something that happens when teachers go on a course and they learn a lot of new things. So what sometimes happens is the teacher goes on a course and the teacher goes, wow, I learned a lot of things. And then in step 2, the teacher changes the classroom routines because they went on a course. They learned lots of new things. The problem is the students didn't go on the course and they don't know what's happening. Like their teacher suddenly went crazy, wants to speak English, wants them to play games. I mean, what happened to our teacher? Where is our old teacher that we know? They think. Okay, so some students react negatively when the teacher comes in with this big shiny halo of wonderful, you know, ideas. And that can be a problem because when the teacher gets a negative response from the students in step 4, then the teacher loses motivation. Okay, that's a thing that happens on courses. I don't want you to have a problem like that. So I really want everyone to go slow. We said at the beginning of the course, this is step by step. So we have 6 weeks, 8 weeks together, but you have 1 year with your students. So the things that we're showing you, you can do slowly across the whole year. There's no rush. Okay, if you rush quickly, maybe your students won't like it. I don't know. Just be sensitive. Yeah? So I wonder how much you have changed yourself because of the course that we are doing. And I wonder what change in your classes you can do, you know, realistically. I wonder. Yeah? How have you changed because of this course? And what can you change in your classes as a result of this course? And I would actually quite like to go into breakout rooms and give you a chance to talk about this. How would that be? Okay, so I want to, excuse me 1 second. I want to stop sharing. Good. So would that be okay? I send you to breakout rooms to talk with some friends. I'm going to make random breakout rooms and give you time to see what your friends think. So 1 second. Let me pause the recording while we do this. Okay, so we're back to recording after the breakout rooms. I'm interested. Oh, you had a good conversation. That's nice. I don't know if 6 minutes was enough, but it's a start. Would anyone like to say anything or share something that was discussed in your room? Because I couldn't come to the breakout rooms. If you raise a hand, yes, please, Katerina.
I would like to say that we have great progress during the practice of new technologies to use with our students, like the think, pair, and share. The last activity I really loved, and I do it with my students. And here we have a good help from the public school, because the students have here in Recife free internet.
Oh, okay.
So they can, we have the specific schedule and they use the free internet. So it's better to do something to practice with them.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. So good. So you were able to take away some new ideas like think, pair, share, and you were able to do it with your class. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you very much. You're welcome. Okay, Andrea, would you like to say something too?
Yeah, actually, after this course, I feel more comfortable for speaking English and more confident too. And also, I like some ideas for virtual classes, and I will try to put on the practice.
Good. Can you give an example of one of the ideas you tried?
I liked the ideas for divide the students in some groups for trying to be more effective. And maybe I can use some colors or shapes or something like that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So managing large classes and making groups in the large classes. Great. Thank you very much, Andrea. Super. Okay. Anyone else like to share something? Waterfall chat. Thank you, Wesley. Yes, that was a nice activity. I hope you can use that when you have your meetings, even if it's not Zoom, if it's Google Meet. As long as you have chat or Teams with chat, it will work. Nice one. Thank you. Any other comments that you'd like to make? Yes, Simone, you're on mute.
Well, in this course, I've learned lots of things, but something that called my attention was starting teaching them short answers, the questions and answers with short answers. I've never thought about this because it is much, much easier for them. So I think that is a great idea.
Great. I'm glad you tried that. It's nice to try something different. If you always do the same thing, you always get the same result. If we want to get a different result, we have to change something that we do. Yeah, the teacher has to change something. The students, they can't change. They don't know what's going on. So nice. It's good to experiment and try different things and see what happens in class. So thank you very much, Simone. Okay. Any last comment before we move on? Yes, Iane.
Then, Kristina, I use it to teach them much grammar, you know, and now we'll give them more space to talk, because as you said, we always say they don't talk, they don't like to talk each other, but we don't give them space to talk. Then this is something that I'm going to change.
Brilliant. Wonderful. This course is having a big effect. When you make space, something will happen. Something will fill the space, even if it's them talking in Portuguese. Something will happen. Okay, so my students often speak L1, and I just answer them in English. And I put up the phrase in English that they needed. They get the idea. They start to speak more English. Great, thank you. That's wonderful. I want to move on a little bit, and you're welcome to put other comments in the chat. Okay, as Lourdes has some points there. She has prepared some activities using the practices. Yes, I'm sure your students will enjoy them too. Absolutely. It will be a lot of fun. Okay, another thing we have done in our course is actually we have created these two things. A PLN is a personal learning network. So it's a way that people who want to learn something can all get together and study the same thing. But you're doing it virtually. You're doing it on the internet. Okay, so I'm connected with lots of teachers and educators around the world. If I have a question, I can contact people in Australia, in America, in Europe, and all over the world, also in Brazil. And we share what we are doing in class, what we are learning about the students or about teaching or teaching online or whatever. So this personal learning network you have on Telegram because you are connected to the people in your region. And then we have the Facebook group where you are connected to everybody else in Brazil from the course. these two things will continue. We will keep the Telegram groups open. I will continue to look at them. Okay, if you write something, I will not look at them 3 or 4 times a day, but I will look at them. I will see that there are things happening on Telegram. I will come in and I will write. And I will also check the Facebook group, and maybe we'll open up the Facebook group so more people can post. All right, and this creates a kind of community of practice, a community of people who are connected together and learning. So we have Brazilian public school teachers of English connected, and that's a wonderful thing. And I hope that that gives you a feeling of support, because when everyone else is negative and sad and blue, as we say in English, if you're unhappy, you can be blue. You have some strength because you have a connection with people in other parts of Brazil and maybe around the world who give you, motivation, confidence, tell you you're doing a good job, appreciate the work that you're doing. Okay, and that helps us to be strong. It's difficult to be the only person doing something. Maybe you're the only teacher in your area on this course and the only teacher who has changed. And that can be lonely. You can feel alone, all right? But when you have a PLN, you don't feel so alone because other people are in the same situation as you. So this has been one of the aims of our course, along with the whole idea of helping everybody to become more confident. Okay? Any questions or comments? You like the ideas? That's great. So we're going to just remind ourselves, let's move that out of the way. You may need a pen and paper, pencil, something to write with, because we're going to play kind of a game. Maybe you need to write, I don't know. We will see. It's useful. And as you know, you're very good now at the raise hand thing, putting the hand up and popping to the top of my list so I can see you. That's so useful. So we don't need to worry about that. And we can really start the next bit of our webinar. All right. We're going to do speaking activities. Surprise, surprise. And some breakout rooms. Okay. I have 2, even 3 activities if we have time. That's why I started quite quickly tonight. And we're going to do our think, pair, share again, but in a slightly different way, just a little bit different. I thought this story last time with the lion was really good. You guys really enjoyed it. So I have another one for you tonight. This is a little bit different. Now, here we have a picture, and in the picture there is a shark. So I gave you some vocabulary around the screen. There's a shark in the water. It's in the sea or in the ocean. I don't know where this is. You can decide where you are in the world. And there are some divers. They have cameras. They seem to be taking photographs or filming. And they're in a cage. Okay, they are protected from the shark. So those are some words you might need when you are talking about this picture. I don't know, maybe. I want you to think of the story behind this picture. Would you like to do this? I mean, would you like to be, I don't know, either the diver in the cage, or maybe you want to be the shark and tell the story from the shark's perspective? That's fun. Okay, and why not? So I'll give you a moment to think about your story. I'll give you 60 seconds, and then while you're doing that, I will make breakout rooms, and I will put you in a new combination, again, about probably 3 teachers, and you will have about 6 or 7 minutes to tell the stories and see what is similar or different. So I'll pause the video here, the filming, so I can set up the breakout rooms.
We talked about Nobres and Bonito. There are places from Goiás and Mato Grosso, and you can go diving in the water. You can, that scuba diving, you can do scuba diving.
Fantastic.
Yes.
I would love to do these things one day. Oh, I have never tried scuba diving, but it looks wonderful when I see people doing it. Thank you, Maria. It's great.
We can go together.
Yeah, I'm making a long list of all the places. I think I need 3 months to travel around Brazil. Oh, it's great. So I think that first we have Vanessa up. Your hand was up first on my list. Go, Vanessa. You're on mute. Can you unmute yourself?
We think the same thing. They are professional search for some movie maker about Discovery Channel, something like that. And you agree together that we are not brave enough to stay there deeply in the ocean, face to face with your shark. And we start to think, baby shark too. Everything think about this song. It was a great conversation. And you think about that. Okay.
Good. Wonderful. Thank you, Vanessa. That's super. Lovely. Thank you. Marcia?
Just to say that my story was from the perspective of the shark. I was hungry, looking for food, and something, then a box appeared with many humans looking at me, taking photos, some lights, and I got there, stopped, hungry, and paralyzed by the lights. That's my story.
That's great. That's nice. It's nice to think about it from the shark's perspective. It can't be very nice. There you are, minding your own business in the water, and all these people pop up with cameras. Terrible. That's lovely. Thank you. Jane.
Hello. So we talked also about we were reporters recording the action and very afraid of sharks like this. I think that nobody feels comfortable in a cage with sharks there. But we talked too about places in Brazil, and I told that once I went to Bonito, and there I did scuba diving, and then I felt comfortable because we know the place is not afraid, very beautiful to swim and dive among them. But in the sea, I believe that it's different. We need to be really careful because it's very big. Once I went to the sea and dove with my nephews, but I was afraid of doing that because we don't feel so comfortable. But it was very nice. Okay.
Yeah, I like to swim when I can see in the water. But when I'm swimming and I look down and I cannot see, I'm not comfortable. I'm worried that a big, shark is going to come out of the water. So I'm not very good about sharks personally. But yeah, scuba diving in shallow water, that's a good thing for me. Excellent. Wonderful. I'm going to show you something else on screen. You're going to get a chance to add more stuff to your story in a moment, okay? Because we can also bring these things back. So I'm just curious, what kind of language people used, whether you told the story with past tense or present tense. I don't know. In class, we could think about the language that our students use. Maybe we could listen to one or two of their stories. But I like to delay listening to the stories a little bit because I like to do a little bit of language work now. I think in a language lesson, what often happens is the teacher first gives the grammar or the vocabulary, and then wants the students to practice the grammar and vocabulary. And I think that's too difficult for a lot of students. So I'm doing with you the same thing I do with my own students. First, you told the story with the English you have got, okay? And then I give you a chance to add some more English. So now I can give you a little bit of language because you already have a story. So in English, we have two kinds of adjectives. We have the kind of normal adjectives, and we have a category called extreme adjectives. And the grammar is just a little bit different because extreme adjectives are extreme. So we can say, I'm hungry, or I'm very hungry, or I'm quite hungry. But if you use starving, you can say, I'm starving. Starving means very, very hungry. So we can't say I'm very starving or I'm quite starving. That doesn't work. Well, we can say I'm absolutely starving if you want to make it really, really strong. All right. So some adjectives in English don't use very. For example, we can say I'm very angry, but we don't say I'm very furious, because furious means very angry. So you can just say furious. I'm furious. And if you want to make it even stronger, you can say I'm absolutely furious. All right. Now, I think you can use some of these adjectives in your shark story or your diver story. I don't know which ones. I was just imagining. I mean, maybe the shark is huge, not just big, it's huge. Or maybe it's not an ugly shark, it's a hideous shark. It's really, really ugly. I don't know. Or maybe you think it's very beautiful. I don't know what you think about the shark. Or maybe the shark thinks the divers are hideous. Okay, now the shark could be hungry, or the shark could be starving. The shark could be scary, or the shark could be terrifying, making you very, very frightened. And there are a lot of other options. You might think that the thing is terrible, or I don't know. You might prefer some of the other ones. I'm going to send you back to your breakout room just for about 3 to 4 minutes, and with the same people. And I want you to pick one of the stories that you shared, okay, and just quickly see how many of these adjectives you think you would be able to use. Yeah, so try just telling the story together and thinking how many of the adjectives you could use. If you were my students, maybe you would be writing the story and giving me the story, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to talk. Is that okay, everybody? So I'll let you look at the picture and make a couple of notes. Which adjectives do you think you can use in your story in the group? Okay, I could give you more time, but I don't think we need it. I'm just going to open up the rooms and let you go back. I'll give you just 3 minutes, just very quickly, to see how many of the adjectives you can put into one of the stories that you told in your group. So decide on the story, stick the adjectives in there. 3 minutes, have fun. To start recording again. If anybody wants to make any comments, they're welcome. Breakout rooms are closing in 15 seconds. Many people are coming back. Last 5 seconds. Lovely. Welcome back, everybody. Was that interesting to do? Was that difficult? Patricia, you're shaking your head. You want to tell us?
I'm shaking my head because I arrived late here. I had no idea about the stories or the pictures, but even I was lost. I tried. Yeah, the girls started the story and I helped them to complete and put the adjectives. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay.
That's all we can do. That's wonderful.
Yes, and when we made it, the time was up.
Perfect. And the timing was correct. I'm glad. Great, Patricia. Thank you. So good. Yes. So in Andrea's group, they try to use as many adjectives as possible. Yes. And that's something I get the students to try. Who can put the most adjectives in their story? You know, and they try, they circle all the adjectives. Okay. So TBLT, what do you mean by TBLT, Wesley? Task-based learning? Is that what you mean? Yes, kind of. Yes, kind of like task-based. Yes, absolutely. Great. So I'll just go in and I'll just share my screen for a second because we'll move on. I have another activity. I want to play a game with you guys. All right. If we do something like this, where we first we looked at the story, you had a chance to tell the story with the English you have got. Okay, and that means that you warmed up. So you had a chance to think about what you might want to say. And then I gave you some extra language to think about. And I asked you to go back and tell the story again if you can. In class, maybe you would ask students to write the story. It's up to you. I like group writing because I cannot read 30 papers all the time. But if you put them in groups of 3, okay, not more than 4 people for writing because they can't see the papers if they're in a physical classroom, then you only have to read maybe 11 or 12 paragraphs at the end. I can do that. So then students try to put more of the adjectives in their stories. And the reason we do this is that there's a lot of research to show that giving preparation time and letting students do the task a second time makes their speaking better. And I'm guessing that for you guys, when you told the story the second time, you were faster and more fluent, and it was a little easier. That's what I'm guessing. I'd like to know your comments about that, either in the chat or if you want to put a hand up and say something. Yes, Jane?
Okay, we reviewed the story using the adjectives. What adjectives should we use? So we compared even with the places that we had some co-workers living, and then she compared. She told that where she lives, it's very hot, so the water in the sea, like this is always boiling. Yes. And then we commented that, for example, the reporters in the story, the water was freezing because the deeper the water is, the deeper it seems to be. Yeah.
Great.
But
yes.
it was nice.
Good.
So
Thank you, Jane.
More adjectives to compare the stories. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. Exactly. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Jane. Yes, and people are saying in the chat that the stories became more interesting the second time around. I agree, because you do it the second time, you get better at it. Okay, so when we want students to speak, sometimes we give them grammar and vocabulary first, and then we want them to use it and make a story. And they can't, because first they have to think of a story. That's one thing. And then they have to come back and they have to add the language you want with past tense or purported speech or adjectives or something like that, okay? But the repetition, doing the task again, means they can do this, okay? Each time they get faster. So I always make the time limit shorter. If I give the students 10 minutes to do the first activity, I give them 5 minutes to do the second activity because they can do it faster the second time. All right? So that's something to think about when you do speaking activities, how you will give them a chance to do it again. So I think of it a little bit as a sandwich. They tell the story, that's one slice of bread. Then you give them some grammar or vocabulary to think about. That's the filling of the sandwich. And then you give them another level of repetition. That's like the top of the sandwich. Okay, so I think of it in my mind as a sandwich. So I will offer you that. And don't worry, I will share all of the slides and everything as soon as we finish the presentation. It will all be there. I'd like to go on and do another speaking activity, all right? I think you can do this in your classes somehow, even if you don't use exactly the same technique, and maybe not next week, but slowly build up so that students get used to the idea that they do the task again and there's a twist, there's a change, all right? So I'm gonna pause the video here so it's easier for me to put it in sections on the website.